Sixguns Network. I'm your host, I'm your host, Slick Sixguns, and if we are meeting for the first time, I'm here to promote educational videos of the Western shooting sports. So, this is my second live stream. If you're here joining me on the actual live stream, I'll probably give you a little bit of a shout out at some point in the video. Basically, what we're going to be talking about this whole live stream is, as the title says, we're going to be talking about what kind of events would you like to see added to cowboy action shooting. I know that there might be certain comments out there that, in response to this video, that might definitely disagree with what I'm saying, and that's okay. We are here to agree or disagree. That's fine. I just ask that in the comment section, if you're going to say something, try to be respectful about it, just for the sheer fact that YouTube currently has issues with comments. I'm not going to have any personal issues with them because I've got thick skin about it. But the YouTube people might not necessarily be happy with that, and depending on what kind of comments I get, if they're extremely derogatory or cussing or anything like that, they possibly could be taken down, or the video itself could be taken down, and it won't even be because of my fault. So just if you're going to comment and you have an agreement or a disagreement, make sure that you keep it respectful along with when you're conversing with one another as well in the comment section. So if you are joining me on this live stream, I'm really glad to have you here, and I'm going to try and keep this to the point as much as possible. Depending on who I get on this live stream, I might ask you guys a few questions or answer your questions of a Q&A session afterward in the commentary. So why don't we go ahead and get started? I'm going to have 5 topics that I'm going to cover, and the way that I came up with these topics is a couple of them I actually thought of myself. Some of them I've actually questioned a few of you about to go ahead and get back to me on when I asked you what you wanted on my Facebook page or in my events. Some of you have actually engaged me and said what you would want me to talk about. So I picked a couple comments there and topics to cover. So the first one that I'm actually going to cover that I would like to see added into cowboy action, or what others have said they want to see added into cowboy action, is this pertains to long distance competitions. SAS itself has a long distance competition category in it with precision sight class, scope class, lever gun class, and a couple others in there. I know that they have a bolt action military class, but one of the classes that I've noticed that SAS doesn't directly state in their handbook is something that I would like to see known as the breech loading carbine caplock rifle, caplock carbine, something to that effect. The reason why I'm bringing this up is because SAS specifically wants to have weapons that are period correct with the period of 1860 to 1899, and one of those classes of weapons that we see come around 1860, the Civil War, is the breech loading caplock carbines. You're talking like the Smith carbine, the Gallagher carbine, the Maynard carbine, the Burnside carbine, all those other carbines that came out with the different inventions. The only model that we see is the Sharps, mainly, that comes out with the long distance, and that comes out in the cartridge version. So the thing is that during a practice match at a long distance shoot, usually at my club, the Green Mountain Regulators, we shoot 3 rounds at known distance targets when we do our matches. And what I began thinking was, well, if you have a breech loading caplock carbine, it might take you a little bit more time to reload, but it's essentially the same concept. You just have the ignition system separate from the powder and the ball, but you're not loading it like a muzzle loader. So theoretically, it would take relatively a short amount of time to load that ammunition and then shoot it. Granted, SAS does say you can have long distance matches in a certain class that is up to the match director. And if it comes down to that, then the match director should be able to come up with a match that says, okay, well, we're going to have a cap lock breech loading carbine class. So I don't know what you guys think about that. I think it sounds pretty awesome, especially for the historical reasons and adding more authenticity to the long distance matches. But like myself, I have a Gallagher carbine, and I actually would like to take it out to a match one day and not only just show it off, but shoot it in competition and see how it does. So that'd be kind of fun for me. And let me know in the comments section what you think about that. You can agree, disagree, or think I'm say I'm full of it, which is fine. The next one I'm going to talk about, and this is something that people might argue with me on, which is fine. I know that at least in my area, a lot of older people have a tendency to get involved in SAS, and as a result, no offense, sometimes it's harder for them to move. So in other shooting sports, what they have is they have a lot of movement, and movement down the firing line laterally, and as well as moving up and down the range. But and I know that SAS does have movement in it. That's why we have the 4 different guns, and depending on where you're at in a stage, you can have, I even saw someone posted in my channel where they actually sat on a horse and they were moving, hitting targets on a fake horse, which is cool. And, places like at the Tejas Caballeros and maybe some others, they have like a moving mine cart, which also shows movement, and it's equally just as much fun. But what I was thinking was that we would have more of a movement in between stages, moving not just laterally, because that's kind of what you typically see, and that's what I have seen at any of the ranges I've gone to, is all the movement is lateral. I would kind of actually like to see SAS adopt a stage where, or a couple stages where you actually have to move up and down the range, and you actually, I don't want to say this because it's not really related, but you have to actually move into cover or something like that. Move behind a wagon wheel, shoot your lever action rifle, move forward, another 10 meters or something like that, get behind a tombstone, shoot your pistols or your shotgun or a combination thereof, and obviously incorporating the different categories into it. I just would like to see a little bit more movement into the actual competition portion. Some people might say, well, that's going to take more time, and especially at the bigger matches, that might not necessarily be conducive because you got so many competitors, and depending on the temperature and patience of the audience, maybe they don't want that. That's fine. That can also be done at the local match level. So if you're a match director or a club president, that's something that you can incorporate at your level, even though you don't necessarily want to see it at a national or regional match. So I think that's something that would be kind of neat. Here's my next topic, and this actually goes along with a non-shooting competition. This can be held at the regional or the national or world championships. We always have like awards banquets or something like that, and I've never been to a regional or national match. I know that they hold banquets, dances, and food and vendors and all that stuff, and speakers. But the one thing that I think would be interesting to add to the actual competition would be a couples two-stepping category. we are in Western style dress or of the you know, a variant thereof, and uh, dancing among couples, I'm sure happens, and especially at the larger matches. And maybe what you can incorporate is you can incorporate a best dancing couple, something like that. I don't want to say we have to adopt a version of a Western themed Dancing with the Stars kind of movie, kind of competition, but that would just kind of add more to the non-shooting categories and add a little bit more fun and extra points there, and you could win a medal or a trophy for that. I think that would be something that's worthy of adding and kind of adds more fun to the evening if you would like to see that. Obviously doesn't need to be mentioned in the shooter's handbook, but it can be up to the match director to add something like that. The next thing I'm going to talk about is sometimes I hear a lot of commentary on the different Facebook pages about how Cowboy Action needs to incorporate more off the clock events, and like throwing sticks of dynamite, or trying to pretend you're milking a cow, which was actually kind of a fun one. But I think that people have some validity when they say that, well, it's just too much for too many shooters to do. If we have, I might be exaggerating here, we may have 20 shooters on a posse, it's going to naturally take them more time to do the non-shooting stuff, and then you got people standing in the heat or in the cold or whatever, and they might risk getting dehydrated and all this. That's fine. So my suggestion to that is, if we want more non-shooting elements into a stage, why don't we focus strictly on reloading? So for example, if you were to do like a bonus stage, it doesn't even have to be incorporated into your time, but we have a lot of side matches. So make it a side match instead. So what you do is, for example, we say we're going to do fastest rifle, but the fastest rifle is going to incorporate, you've got to do a reload of the full magazine and then shoot again. So you would start off with a loaded magazine. You would empty as many as the rounds as fast as possible on the designated target, and then you would reload as quickly as possible all 10 rounds, and then dump the 10 rounds, and then that would be your total time. I think that would incorporate more of a challenge into that kind of a side event, and it definitely, if it's a side event, it's a lot easier on the people involved, because then what you have happening is people can say yes or no whether they want to do it or not. It's an option, just like with any side match. So I think that would be actually really awesome, is if they incorporate off the clock non-shooting motions in a side match, and then people won't be so picky about their score. That's my opinion. You can take it for what it is. But the last thing that I would like to mention that I thought of for SAS adding something specific is, I know that we have a category like Cody Dixon where you shoot more specifically period correct cartridges at farther distances. But one of the categories that I haven't seen yet is something that is specifically a military category. And one of the things that they do at the long distance, I know they do the bolt action military rifle, but they don't necessarily have a strictly military category in a SAS match. Now, this military category, what I think it should incorporate is you have to be in military style dress to fit into the category. You can be Union, Confederate, cavalry during the Indian Wars, or even a scout, something like that. And you would have to use what they would have issued to the Army at the time. You can have Griswold and Gunnison's 1860 Armies, 1858 Remingtons, Schofields, Colt single action armies. There, and then you would have trapdoor rifles, trapdoor carbines, and Spencers. Anything that could have been seen in the military at the time. I think that would be kind of a fun category to have. The only category I see that is anything like that in SAS, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I only see costume categories. They say, well, it's you can get a score for being best dressed military gentleman or best dressed military man or whatever, and which is good. I think that's awesome, but I also have seen some people at shoots that come out dressed in their military gear of the period of 1860 to 1899, and I just think that it might be even more fun for them specifically to have a category of their own where it's, we're shooting military weapons of the day, wearing military dress of the day. So that's something that I think SAS should kind of add into it. That pretty much concludes all of the categories that I wanted to include, as well as others that I've heard people talk about. If there is something else that you think should be added, by all means, go ahead and message me in the comment section, and maybe we can get a dialogue going about it. You can message me on my Facebook page, and we can talk about it as well. So I really appreciate you. If you have showed up to this on the live stream, it means a lot to me, and it means a lot that you are part of my journey on educating people on the Western shooting sports, even though sometimes I don't think I know enough myself. I'm trying to learn as much as I can, and I try to portray some sort of accuracy in historical means, and try to be genuine in my ignorance, and and it's completely okay to disagree with what I'm saying. If you know more than I do, fine, let me know and tell me what it is that is wrong and why it's wrong. That's fine. So, but I'm just trying to help people out. That's the big thing. And just by you showing up, that kind of shows me that you really are interested, you want to learn something, and that's why I'm here at the end of the day. So I appreciate you showing up. Leave your stuff down in the comment section, and I will definitely see you next time. You have a good one, and I will see you in the next video. Don't forget that next week we are talking about the review of the Ruger New Vaquero, and I hope you are there. And it's going to be an awesome video, and I think it's going to be the best one yet. All right, talk to you later. Thanks for attending.